All right, guys, welcome back to another Paris, Texas, a podcast. I'm here with a longtime friend of mine, John Bratcher. Say hey.
Hey, what's up?
All right, John, so I always start talking, and then I forget to ask the first question. I've done this multiple times, so I'm just going to start out right out and ask you a question.
Go for it.
Are you Parisian or are you Parasite?
Ooh, Parasite sounds so weird.
I know, a lot of people hate that name, but... Paristonian? That was one that someone brought up to me the other day. Not on a podcast, but...
Parisianer, yes.
Parisianer?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Parasite sounds weird. I don't know why. Just long time Paris. I almost said Parasite.
So I think it's supposed to be Parasite.
Parasite. Okay.
And not Parasite.
Yeah, Parasite. Yeah, that's...
Because the Parasite is like a...
Parisianer sounds kind of cool, though. But
it does sound cool.
Yeah. That feels more Paris, France, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not Paris, Texas. Of course, when we say it,
maybe we should have a Paris, Texas one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. If y'all have an idea, contact me. Let me know.
Yeah, throw it out there.
So were you born here, or were you
born in Paris, Texas?
Born in Paris. So you're Parisian, technically.
Yes. I'm born at McChristian Hospital back when it was on Clarksville Street.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So have you lived only here?
That's it. Just for a brief, short period of time, I went to Kilgore College and lived down there for a semester. But other than that, yeah. And this was still home. So,
still home.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to do as a kid in Paris, Texas?
Oh my gosh, you're talking 80s. So
I was like when I was born, just by the way.
No, it was not.
81.
No, quit it. I thought we were like the same age.
Sure.
Quit it.
Yeah, we're the same age.
Yeah, you got to edit that out. All right.
I can't.
No, back then, 80s, Paris was a cool place. I mean, I always thought it has been, which it's home and it's kind of what you know. But, back then I always wanted a mall. I was like, man, why does Paris not have a mall? But no, just cruising the Strip on the weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody would cruise from Sonic all the way down to Lamar Avenue and make that big turn into
cruising the Boo. Yeah.
Marabou was crazy back then, but it was fun, and it wasn't nothing bad. There were no shootings or nothing like that. I mean, it was just kind of cool place for kids to hang on the weekends and stuff, so it was a fun thing to do.
So it's safe to say you cruised the Boo a couple of times.
Yeah, we call it cruising Lamar. I don't know why.
Just my generation or my age frame, I don't know where I fall, but called it cruising the Boo.
Cruising the Boo.
Because the Marabou, cruising the Boo.
It was cool because you'd pull in the Marabou and it'd take you about 30 minutes to get back up by
slow
Belk,
crawl.
and then come back around, and then you'd see everybody, it's really cool.
Everybody's blaring music. Different types of music. Yeah.
Then everybody would pull up in the parking lot and just kind of form little groups of their school, and just kind of hang out. So it was neat.
So that was one of the things you enjoyed kind of doing?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's kind of the community base for kids. That's like a community-based event.
It was something to do and somewhere to go, back then. Because other than that, there was movies, which is pretty much all there is now, too. But you would go to the movies, maybe a little bowling, but nobody really did that. It was going to the movies or just cruising. So.
But back then you had multiple movie options, right?
Yeah, you had the cinema, and then you had the Downtown Grand. So.
The Downtown Grand.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last movie you watched in that?
Ooh, the Grand. Ooh, I don't know. That's been a few years. I remember going one time. A buddy of mine in high school, we went to see one of the Friday the 13th movies there, and it was kind of comical because there were a bunch of people in there, and it was silly, but. That's the last one I remember.
Yeah.
And I don't remember which one because there's like 18 of them. So, I don't remember which one it was.
I remember the Grand a lot. Going to the Grand a lot as a kid. I think we looked it up the other day because we were talking about the Grand. The last movie I saw in there was the Titanic, and I'm pretty sure that was like
cool.
Within a month or so of it closing.
Oh wow!
So, because we looked up when Titanic released, and then when did that close down officially?
What year?
Oh man, I don't remember.
Yeah. We saw Titanic, so and back then they wouldn't show the same movies. So if it was at the Grand, it wasn't at the cinema. So if you saw, So if you saw Titanic, you saw it at the Grand.
Oh.
They wouldn't show it for both like that. No, they wouldn't compete like that. It was weird.
Now, I can't remember. Were they owned by the same person?
I don't think so because I think that at some point in time, Cinemark bought that out, and I don't know how all that transpired. Of course, as a kid, I didn't care,
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't remember how that transpired.
That's interesting. All right, so where'd you go to school?
Prairie Land.
Prairie Land.
Yeah, don't hold that against me. It's a cool school, man. It's
Hey,
awesome
I was just at Prairie Land for. I'm on the chamber, and we do this thing called the Chamber Connect, where we go and kind of introduce different job opportunities to kids at schools. And I enjoyed the kids at Prairie Land.
It's a fantastic school. I think when I was growing up, it was more seen as a country school. And so, you had North Lamar and Paris High, and they were kind of the big schools, and so Prairie Land was always kind of the underdog, and so, but we've loved it. When my wife and I got married, you decide like where we're going to put our kids and where we're going to live, and it was hands down we're going to live in Prairie Land School District because we just love it out there.
What was your class size?
60 maybe, I don't remember.
60.
Yeah, 60, 70, something like that.
Kimmy, my wife, she had like 16 in her class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She was way out in the plains in Colorado.
Yeah. No, it wasn't bad, and still probably is a pretty close school district.
Yeah.
And of course, it's funny now because most of the teachers I went to school with, and I see them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember in Mr. Moses' class, Shawana, and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat.
Now, is the same school they're in now, or is that new?
It's new.
Okay.
The high school then is the junior high now, and
okay.
But it's a lot of the same stuff still there, and like I said, most of the teachers I went to school with now
still there.
Yeah, it makes me feel really old. So.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I just sneezed. Oh, okay. So just to let all of our listeners know, we are currently in, and we'll get to this later, but we're currently in your store, 107, downtown. So there's cars passing. There's a bit open roof. There's birds flying. So and there's deliveries being made because you're open tonight, right?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So there's deliveries being made.
Yeah.
So if y'all hear something, just roll with it.
Yeah. Open air, you get all of it. So.
Open air. All right, so you graduated. What did you want to do when you left school?
Ooh, man, I had no idea. My parents, owned a nursery and landscaping business. But I had worked. We were just talking about this earlier because I run into some old friends. But I worked at a grocery store in high school.
In town?
Yeah, I worked at. It was. I don't know if anybody even remember this, but it's Super H. It's where
Super 8?
H.
Oh, okay.
It's where Bell's is now.
Okay.
That was Piggly Wiggly. It sold to Super H. They were out of Oklahoma.
And then it became Super 1.
Became Brookshire's.
Brookshire's.
So they sold out to Brookshire's. I went to work for Brookshire's after the whole transition.
Okay.
Didn't stay very long, just through high school and high school football. And then at some point in time, they changed it over to Super 1.
Okay.
Yeah, it was originally
because I worked at
Brookshire's.
Super 1.
Oh, did you really?
In that same building.
Yeah, it was originally I was told it was Piggly Wiggly, and I remembered as a kid Piggly Wiggly. And then went to Super H, and then to Brookshire's, and then to Super 1, and then to Bell's, I guess. So
awesome.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
neat,
crazy.
though. It's neat, And plus, I was working in Marabou during all of that. So that was kind of neat.
That was cool. So how long did you work there?
Through college, basically, because I left Brookshire's my senior year, and then went to a little store across from Kroger called Texas Tea, and then a little grocery store there, and worked there. But no, I just didn't know what I wanted to do, so I was just telling my wife, I said, I know I didn't want to stay in the grocery business. It's a kind of cool little niche, and some guys did, obviously.
Yeah, some people make it a career, for sure.
It's a good little gig for sure. But no, I had no clue, and I was working for my dad. At some point in time, I left the grocery business, and I had joined a volunteer fire department. And when I did that, some guys had kind of got me to join, and because I was 21 at the time, had no clue what I wanted to do, going to college. And then I realized at some point in time you could get paid to do that. And I'm like, really?
Really?
I mean, I enjoyed it, And I went and got my EMT, and then a good friend of mine, a real good friend of mine, called me and he said, man, I'm going to the fire academy. Are you going with me? And I was like, man, I don't know. So we saved our money and just kind of lit out to Kilgore and put ourselves through fire academy all on our
Awesome.
own. So,
awesome.
Yeah. He went to work for the city of Denton, and I went to work for the city of Mount Pleasant back then.
Yep, which I've been to. I met a couple guys that kind of remember you. I think they've kind of changed over quite a bit.
Yeah.
But
well, that was in 95, so
wow,
that was a few years ago.
So how long were you there?
Almost 3 years. I liked it down there. A lot of good guys. It was a small department at the time, and but I love the guys I work with down there. They were super good.
So we were talking the other day, you and I, and you you were telling me that you were quite the prankster.
Oh my gosh.
Of the department.
Yeah.
What's the best prank you can tell us that you can tell us on air?
Let me tell you something. You could write books on what goes on in the firehouse.
Oh my goodness!
And some guys would rather not write books because they don't want it known. But down there, it was back then. It was one little bitty station, and there was only 5 guys per shift at the time. They've grown quite a bit. They're at 2 stations, and I think about 10, 12 guys a shift now. So it's grown, but just 5 of us, a little small station, and the bathroom door wouldn't lock good. And it had a sliding window in there, and the guys down there, because just a bunch of young guys, and you get time on your hands, and they kept us busy. We had calls, but you just have some downtime. You just do. So don't think bad about the guys. And it's just mainly all guys, So it's like summer
a frat house.
Yeah, it's like a frat house, summer camp, And so then guys just start just picking at each other, especially when you get a little downtime. And the bathroom would never lock, so always someone was getting either cold water dumped on them in the shower, flour, which is horrible when you're standing there soaking wet. And one of the guys, they had a little broomstick because the little sliding window wouldn't lock good, so they had like a half of a broomstick you stuck in the sliding window to keep from opening. And guys would inevitably go in there and take that broomstick all the time, so the window would never lock. And they would come outside and get a huge water hose, and you'd be in the shower, and they'd run that water hose through the window, and it's cold too, and they'd just soak you down, And so you're always like on edge, like I'm in the shower, I gotta hurry up and get out because something's gonna happen, It's so funny. And then they'd go in, they'd flush all the toilets where it'd be cold water coming out.
Oh my goodness.
I hated taking a shower, because they're always getting you. So,
but you did this just as much as they did.
Yeah. There was a guy we worked with, and I always thought the flour was funny because it just cakes to you, and it takes forever to get off. And we did more dumping flour in the shower than we did cooking with it. So, yeah, and it probably stopped up the drains and who knows what all. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a mess.
So how long did you do that?
I did that for 3 years down there and got the opportunity to come to Paris. I took the test here, and Paris is home, and I just always want to get back to Paris. And
you commuted while you were there, right?
Yeah. I just drove back and forth to Mount Pleasant. It's 24 on, 48 off, so you work one day, you're off a couple. And so, I got the opportunity to come back here, and they offered me the job, and I couldn't turn it down. I wanted to be back in Paris. It was a bigger department at the time, than Mount Pleasant was. So I wanted the opportunity to come back here, and I did, and I spent about almost 10 years here with the fire department here in town. And
awesome.
And I liked being a part of it. It felt good being in Paris, as much as I loved Mount Pleasant, I still do. It felt right being in Paris and being, driving the truck down. There's just something about seeing a big red truck come through the square downtown.
Yeah.
It's great, man.
Which I've met a lot of them now because I've done some video work with them.
Super good guys.
So now every time I see them, I wave, and they inevitably all remember me. So they all wave back real big, and it's real fun.
I told somebody the other day, there's nothing like, of all the things, there's so much goes on in the fire service. Like I said, we could spend 4 hours here and barely scratch the surface, but there's so much goes on and so much good in it, for the guys themselves. You can't hardly get into it without wanting to help people. And it's just, we would always say that, you're there, you're called on the worst day.
Yeah.
And you're there to help people throughout their worst day. And that's inevitably when people see firefighters, is when they're really having a really, really bad day. And so you get that opportunity to help people. And I've seen some stuff that you can't write down. It's just amazing. And I don't mean the bad stuff. There's the bad stuff too, but it's just the good stuff. That's 2 a.m, you're helping people, and it's just incredible to watch guys work and put their blood, sweat, and tears in it.
It's awesome.
And then then you get the whole time. I was telling some of the girls here at 107 the night, I said, there's 2 kind of people that love firefighters, and that's women and little kids. And because for some reason women just love firefighters in uniforms and big red trucks, and then kids just, I don't care, boys, girls, they just think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Oh yeah, you ask a kid what they want to be, that's inevitably, I want to be a firefighter or a policeman or an astronaut.
Yeah. You go to schools, you pull up in the truck, kids are they're standing there with their mouth open going, and all you got to do is honk the horn and wave, and they're like, you're like, that's the coolest feeling in the world. Like, yeah, it's cool.
Somehow this generation has YouTuber thrown in there somehow. I don't know how that happened, but.
Well, I've got a video, and when I was in Mount Pleasant, we stuck a little handheld camera. My last shift, actually, we stuck it in the back, me and a buddy of mine, and rigged the camera up. And sure enough, my last shift, we worked a structure fire at 2 a.m, and I was driving a Quint, big ladder truck, and just caught it all on video. Well, now, man, everybody's got a GoPro.
Yeah.
And the video quality's crazy. We always wanted to do that. So now I'm like, man, I wish we had GoPros back then. You could caught some crazy stuff.
Yeah. Wow, so that's cool. You were a driver too, because I know that takes different certifications, right, to be a driver.
Yeah. Down there, technically, everybody was a driver.
Oh, okay.
And then, when I moved to Paris, everybody you do what they call step up. So from time to time, do a lot of stepping up, and the longer you're there, the more step up you do. And so the longer I was there, the more I drove. So it's cool, man. I love my time and love the guys, and I looked at it this way. I mean, that's how I got to know Brett Hobart so good and stuff like that. But I just looked at those guys as my heroes, man. When you go to work, guys are putting 20, 30 years in. It can be, with all the good stuff comes the bad stuff too. And for a guy to put 20, 30 years in, I just thought the world of him, still do.
Yeah, Eddie Fitzgerald's
super good guy, man.
One of my favorite guys, man, and he's one of those. He put a
love him to death, and come out of that being a good Christian guy, and just
good family.
Yeah, and still loving life, and not letting all the bad stuff kind of get to him, and with positive attitude. Just a super great guy.
Yeah,
there's tons of them.
Yeah,
tons of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I can sit here and list off 5 that are just close to me in my circle.
Yeah,
not
sure.
Including you and more.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're there, and where'd you go from there? From firefighting?
We were doing ministry at the time.
Ministry.
Yeah, because with the firefighter, even though you work overtime and you do spend a lot of time at the station, obviously working 24 hours a shift, you still got downtime that you're off. That's why a lot of guys work some part-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some odd and end stuff over the years, and some carpentry and just odd and end things. But early on, we got into ministry. We had a youth pastor leave, and of course the church was like, hey, it was a small church, and they're like, we could really use your help, and so we're like, yeah, we'll do it, and man, we just fell in love with kids, basically. It wasn't even the ministry aspect as much as it was just like hanging out with the kiddos. Of course, at the time we didn't have any kids of our own, and we would just go to camps and stuff, and I just loved it, And so as our kids kind of came along, it got a little harder, but we stuck with it, and probably, matter of fact, my whole time nearly at Paris, I was doing youth ministry on the side, just kind of hanging out with kids on the Wednesday nights and weekends, and the opportunity came. I was almost at 10. Well, I was about 9, a little over 9 years here at Paris, and we had just been really praying about it. And the opportunity came. They kept telling us, "Hey, we'll put you on full time if you ever want to leave," And so, that's one thing about me, and you'll know that. Obviously, being here at 107 is I don't mind taking risks, and I think that's the mindset of a firefighter. Sometimes you just calculated risks, not crazy, risk, just calculated risk, like looking at your options and making the right decision and taking a risk. And most firefighters, you get around them, I mean, they'll do things you're like, man, you don't mind, like, hey, that's my job, I take risks. So it was a risk to leave, and we left. I went full-time, did a full-time ministry for a few years.
So where in this, because I've probably passed it, but where in this so far, where did you meet your wife?
Mount Pleasant. Right before Mount Pleasant Fire Department. I was doing my EMT, and which we went to school together. So she went to Pearland too. So she was.
But she was a lot younger, right?
Yeah, 3 years. And so she was way out of my league.
Way out of your league.
Yeah, way out. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. I was.
I'm just kidding.
She was working at the hospital. Going to school to be a nurse, and I was dropping off patients because I worked through that. I'd worked a couple of part-time EMS jobs too. Worked for LifeNet for a few years and stuff. So, and plus working with the city of Paris, would drop off, But back then I was probably doing my EMT training, and I was dropping off, and I kept seeing her, I was like, way out of my league, And then it just, I guess the Lord knew better than that, and kind of put us together and met up, and been 21 years this year or so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when did kids come into the picture?
I went to work in Paris in '98.
At the fire station?
Yeah, the firehouse here in Paris. So I'd left Mount Pleasant, came here. We started doing youth ministry around 2000, and then Caleb was born in 2001.
Okay.
So
that about that time frame.
Yeah, so awesome. it all worked out pretty good timing-wise. And it was funny because I laughed because some of the guys I work with at the firehouse, still great friends with. Everybody, kind of a big group of younger guys, I guess I got hired on pretty close. And man, everybody just started having babies, and all of a sudden the firehouse just kids. It went from nothing to like kids everywhere,
Yeah.
So it was cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So You did ministry. How long did you do?
We were in Blossom for 7 years, and then went to East Paris for a couple years. And then we actually planted a church here in town for about 4 years.
And I remember that.
Yeah. So
I think that is the time frame when I first met you.
Yeah, I saw you at Calvary.
Yep. And I remember our first meeting. I don't remember a lot of times, but I remember our very first time I met you. Yep.
Wow.
So we were standing at the front of Calvary at their little like check-in table desk thing. Yeah. And somehow we had gotten onto movies because I'm a huge movie buff and you're a huge movie buff.
Yeah.
And we just talked movies for.
Did we end up at Star Wars?
I can't remember if we got to Star Wars or not.
Surely.
I mean,
surely.
You don't get very far with me and not get into Star Wars. And I remember you leaving. I was like, dang, that is awesome. Because, a lot of times you don't find people that is
and
big in the movies.
About it.
And passionate about it. So I remember being really excited about that meeting. So that was my first memory of you.
Well, one of the things that helped that, and I hope people don't get the wrong impression, because they work a ton of hours. They spend a lot of time during the day working calls, and sometimes those downtimes at the firehouse are needed because you just have got to decompress a little bit,
Yeah, check out just a little bit.
And so at night times, man, movies, and so I don't know who will listen in here, but there's a couple guys that we would watch movies, and it'd be the same movie like Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
We stuck Tommy Boy on a VCR tape on top of the movies, and we'd come in at night, and sometimes after a call, and just kind of sit down for a minute and rest, and everybody'd be like, what do you want to watch? Like, do stick Tommy Boy in, because it's just funny.
You need something light after.
And so what would happen at the firehouse, you just inevitably end up saying those phrases through the whole, and it's just great, because it's some kind of crazy call, and you're like, what'd you do, Richard? So,
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I enjoy being around people who watch a lot of TV shows or movies.
Yeah.
Because then I often, if someone says something that halfway resembles a line from a movie or a TV show, I'll finish the whole line, and then if someone in the room gets it, it's just like, yes, you got me, you're with me.
And what's cool is you get around people like that, you're kind of kindred with, know. And Seinfeld was a big one around the firehouse too. Everybody would back in the day make Seinfeld remarks, and you'd work over on some odd different shift and then make a Seinfeld remark, and you're like, oh yeah, that's funny. That's awesome.
So how long did you church plant?
About 4 years, and just didn't get the traction we felt like we needed to get. So.
And you had a unique group of people you're trying to reach, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, we'd been a part of a lot of churches. I say a lot of churches. That's not really true. We'd been a part of a couple of churches that we really loved, but I don't know, man. We had been traveling and really digging into it a lot, and found some churches that were really doing some ministry out there that felt more organic and felt more communal, and man, we just kind of fell in love with it, and thought, man, boy, I'd really love to have something like that in Paris. So at the time, we felt like it was, it was our call to do that, and I think it was. Might have been a little early, and I had a lot to learn. You know? I mean, when you start something fresh like that, I don't care if it's a church, it's a business, to some extent, not to be rigid, but to some extent, they're pretty close, And so once you are that lead person and starting something from scratch, it's tough, man.
Oh, I can.
And you know that.
Well,
jumping out and starting stuff, it's tough, and so that's a skill set, and it's unique to have that. So, but we just decided after about 4 years to change gears a little bit, and met some really great people, and so just changed gears, and I think that's when you and I kind of
because you shifted from there into Printworks, right?
Yeah.
Which is where we became friends, basically.
Started really working.
We were acquaintances. We knew each other, but we really became friends. And I remember that first meeting too.
Man, you got a good memory, dude.
Yeah, you were checking your kids in at Parents Day Out. No, what was it called?
Probably. Oh, at First Baptist.
First Baptist, yeah. And
that's right.
And I was working there for a stint, and I just was looking for something new. I'm a very creative person, so I was trying to find something in the creative field. And
at the time, we were just rocking and rolling, needing more creativity.
Yeah, so we talked for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. You were probably late for work that day, and sure enough, within a week, I think I was out at Printworks creating T-shirts and graphics and websites, and I got to really, that was the next step for me. honestly, going towards my career now, that was kind of my baby step, my dipping my toe into that,
doing what you love,
what I love. Yeah,
for sure.
So,
dude, I was so pumped to have you because, and I know people know this probably, but I can't say it enough. It's cool to have guys like you around who's so creative, and really, I think it's cool because you help get those creative juices flowing, if that makes sense. I think when you're around people like that are really creative, it helps you be more creative.
Yeah,
and so it's like
definitely.
Positive peer pressure, So, I was super pumped to have you, and those were good times. So.
Yeah. So, we worked for 2 years, and then I went off chasing my dream a little more.
Yeah, no, that was a cool deal.
And then, so how long were you at Printworks for?
I was fixing to hit 4 years. Matter of fact, this fall would have been 4 years for me. So it was a nice, good stint, and I learned a lot about business because there's some really sharp minds out there for sure.
And I think I was around 2, maybe just a little under 2 years.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So we spent a chunk of those 4 together.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we put some good stuff together.
So here we are. This is where I was wanting to get to.
I know, yeah, right.
We're sitting in 107, which is what how long have you had 107?
Right now, with the podcast, we bought it in July, and so this is October 2nd. So July, August, September. So this will be going to our 4th month.
I don't think people know that I record the podcast so far in advance.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, because you'll be like into November or something like that.
Yeah. So if you're listening to it and it's super cold, it's nice and pretty today and warm. We're in shorts.
Yeah, we're in shorts.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've sit and talked about that. You've got some pretty cool ideas and just vision for 107. Not necessarily changing 107 because it's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
Just walking in the door, but you've got some pretty awesome ideas. And is there one thing you're looking forward to? Downtown?
In general, yeah, because, even with any kind of idea that we want to do here, the more that downtown grows, it'll just help us tremendously. And I think that matters. I know when we first started talking to Brett and Sherry, who, by the way, if you don't know them, and even if you do, they've just got a good eye for things like this. Mm-hmm. And I met Brett at the firehouse. I knew him before that a little bit, but really got to know him really good because I lived with him for a while at the firehouse. And man, they did a phenomenal job getting this place started. And they're really very entrepreneurial. I mean, they've just got a good mind and eye for it.
I don't know if I've met Brett yet, but I've done some work with Sherry.
Oh, super good people, man.
Yeah,
and
she's great.
So they kind of had a good idea. They had a great idea and putting it all together. So they've done the groundwork for me here. But when we first started talking, she said, I have some people from DFW and some people calling from out of town wanting to buy 107. She said, I'd really like to keep it local, because you've got that mindset and you're from here. And she said they were excited, when I called them. So
definitely,
I think that matters for Paris. Mm-hmm. I think 10 years down the road it may not matter as much. I think right now it's probably pretty important because we need people downtown, we need people in Paris that care about Paris and keeping it going and getting it built, making sure that downtown doesn't die, making sure that the right businesses are coming into Paris to support and give people jobs and stuff like that. So I think right now we're probably at a pretty interesting point, and maybe 20 years from now it won't be as important. It'll grow enough where we can say, hey, let's bring as many people whenever. But I think right now having the right people in the right places downtown and stuff is just
building the community.
Yeah, it is. And growing up here, there was a point in time in the 80s when cruising Lamar and Walmart got built out there and Applebee's got built, which were fantastic. But downtown just took a hit. I mean, it just took a big hit. And my wife and I would drive down here, and I'd tell her, I said, I think it's just going to die. I think downtown is just going to die. And it just broke my heart because being from here, my grandparents lived on 3rd Northwest. At some point in time, my grandmother had worked at the old Sears building back in the 50s. Mm-hmm. My dad had, during high school, apparently worked as a soda jerk at Crest, which is right beside Subway. That's the old Crest building. And so, I mean, we've got family history here in the fountain, and you look at the old pictures, and you're like, man, we've got a beautiful downtown, I do not want to see it die.
Even the fact that this downtown areas came back from like 3 different fires.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
That alone just says that we need to pour into it a little bit and just remember our history.
Yeah, and just, I think it's I don't know. We like going to when you drive through Sulphur Springs and see what they've done downtown. You just love it. Mm-hmm. I had worked in Mount Pleasant, and then we got the opportunity to open a Printworks in Mount Pleasant. We did, mm-hmm. and just, I mean, when I would go down there and spend time in Mount Pleasant downtown, I just loved it. I mean, mm-hmm. it's got a great vibe. Paris has got a beautiful downtown. It's got a great vibe, but it could be so much better.
Yeah,
so
huge potential.
It's huge potential. And I always wanted to be, even when we were planting a church, I always wanted to plant a church downtown Paris.
There's one happening.
Yeah. And so that was our kind of thought. Thought, man, wow, how cool would it be to be downtown? I don't know, man. It's got such a different vibe to it than when you're out on a loop. And so, when I got the opportunity to buy this place, man, we were just like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
I love it. Sure do, for sure.
That's exciting. It's exciting. So if you haven't had a chance to come to 107, you should definitely come to 107. It's an amazing. And you've now opened for lunches.
I've got Saturday lunch. By the time this podcast comes out, we'll have Wednesday through Saturday lunch.
Wednesday through Saturday lunch. That's awesome.
So we're excited
and you added outdoor seating, which is really
we had
cool.
some outdoor seating, so it's cool. We've had some people stop by that are traveling from out of town. Are like, hey, we saw your outdoor seating, and pretty cool because it's got, when you go to Austin, you go to downtown Fort Worth, you go to all these places, you have places like this, and so Paris needs them. I mean, it's just it's the time, and even the younger age groups love it even more. So it's time.
And if you come on a good Saturday night, you might catch a live band.
Yeah. I mean, having some live music. I mean, that's one thing that's cool about 4th and 8th Street, mm-hmm. somewhere between there in Austin.
There's always that happens like
bands, man. It's just
next
so
door
cool.
to each other. It'll be happening.
Cool. And it's neat to walk down the street and hear the live music. I mean, it's just kind of cool. San Antonio's that way.
Yeah.
You're on the Riverwalk and you hear jazz coming out of some of those places.
You got to want to go in.
It's super cool. So, I want to hear.
Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Man,
This was fun.
Yeah.
And I loved having you. We have got a lot of history and and I just love hearing people's story. I learned a few things I didn't know. Okay, one thing I didn't ask.
Okay.
So how many kids do you have?
3 boys.
3 boys.
Oh,
and how many kids am I about to have?
You're about to have 3 boys.
Okay,
so
boys club.
It's the 3 boys club, yeah.
Yep, so...
I had worked with a guy years ago at the firehouse, and he would always be like, man, 3 boy club. It's crazy, I'm like, all right, Corey, whatever, but yeah.
So what's your best tip for 3 boys? Because what's the age range?
Right now, they are 17, 15, and 11. So, 2 teenagers. It's cool, man. I mean, it's great having 3 boys. We always wanted to get a girl in the mix in there, and it just wasn't in the works for us. Which I've got 3 nieces, and they're super, so that's...
There you go.
Yeah, it works. But, advice, patience. The cool thing about boys is they fight.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, no, that wasn't the cool thing. The cool thing is that they fight, and then 10 minutes later they can be getting along.
Yeah.
Where I've been told that when girls do that, a week later they're still mad at each other.
Yeah,
so they hold on to it. And boys are just like, they're punching each other, and all of a sudden they're sitting in the couch playing a video game like, I thought y'all were fighting a while ago. They're like, oh no, we're fine. I'm like, cool. I mean, that's awesome. And plus, being a guy, you get all the guy stuff. I mean, we're at least halfway into dirt bikes and stuff right now. So,
And I've loved. Well, this could have happened with a girl too, but one of my boys is, they're 7 and 5, and one's not here yet. But one's into YouTubing, which is huge for me. It's up my alley. And then I really think me and Kimmy have been watching the youngest, and he really loves coloring. And for a 5-year-old, he colors really well. I mean. He can't quite do his alphabet, but he can color Hulk like no other 5-year-old.
Do y'all do Legos and stuff too?
Oh yeah.
So that was cool.
Huge at Legos.
I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but as a parent, the kids get these big Lego sets for Christmas, and part of you inside, the kid is like, awesome. That's a boat, dude. It's like Pirate Caribbean boat.
Yeah.
You get stuff like that. I mean, it's just.
I'm in there helping.
They're like, can you help me put together? Like, oh yeah, twist my arm.
Yeah, twist my arm. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Anyway, so. That's awesome. 3-boy club.
Yeah.
And
welcome.
Just good friends. If y'all haven't met John Bratcher, y'all need to go meet him at 107. As always, we try to release a new podcast every Monday. Check us out. We're on any podcast app, on Android, on iPhones. You just find a podcast app, whether it's on your actual phone or on in the App Store, and search Paris, Texas, and you will find us. Spread the word. Share it with a friend. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.